Theo, you want to talk about the Jags front seven? I know that was something that you were looking into a little bit.
The preseason week 2 has been happening. So, I've been watching some of those games. And I think that was the unit that really popped off the screen for me. Or maybe it was the Steelers' offensive line. I don't know. But the Jags gave the ones, obviously not the true ones. There's some, backups scattered in here and there. But Trayvon Walker was playing and Josh Allen was playing. And the guy they got from the Jets, Falarunzu Fatukasi, I think, was out there, and Smoot. And they were killing. They were killing the Pittsburgh Steelers, in that first quarter.
Now, to be entirely fair, the Steelers are not very good up front.
Well, that's why it's kind of both a story. Their pressure rate was probably 100% when Mitch Trubisky was out there. I swear to God. And every run went for about 2 yards, or maybe less. They probably averaged 0 yards per carry with a pressure rate of 100%. It was really eye-opening what Josh Allen was able to do to them. I mean, he probably registered 5 pressures in that game. It was crazy. So it was definitely something that, when you look at the Steelers, I think they've had a really interesting preseason, because they've got Pickens and they've got Pickett, and they're, a team that has, I think, a pretty wide range of outcomes this year. And I don't know how to feel about them, because I think Pickett has looked quite good in the preseason. But man, that offensive line is just so bad. And
it's not good.
It's not good at all. And I think the Jaguars can, and I think it's a little bit of both, the Jaguars front seven. I think it's going to be pleasantly surprising this year, but I really just, man, if that unit, which I don't think is going to be a horrible unit, but if any unit is looking like that, I mean, obviously it's preseason and the Steelers have a chance to figure it out, but given the talent on their line and what they've done the past 2 years, they don't deserve the benefit of the doubt that they're going to just fix it. So
let me ask you this. Yeah. Let's say hypothetically the Jaguars had traded for AJ Brown, or gotten some other really high level receiver. What would you project them to be doing right now? Because outside of the fact that they don't really have a true number one receiver, team's pretty strong.
Yeah. I mean, I have them at 7 wins. I think if you gave them AJ Brown, a top tier wide receiver as a weapon, I still don't trust the secondary a whole lot. But I mean, if they had a top flight wide receiver, I think I could add a win or two, and that gets them at 8-9 wins. That has them hovering, going from the worst team to the league to around 500, maybe in wild card contention, which is pretty crazy. But I really have liked and Lawrence, he got off a little bit slow in that game. There were some missed passes to Kirk on the sideline that were bad. And I kind of am you could work on the accuracy, but man, he had a drive in the second quarter of that game. And yes, it was against backups, but the windows that he was placing those throws in were not bad. It was good coverage is good coverage, whether it be Jalen Ramsey doing it or some Steelers fifth string, right? A tight window is a tight window. And he was just hitting some ridiculous throws. And I'm this close to saying he has the best pocket presence in the league, Lawrence. So yeah, I'd project if they could next year, playoffs is the goal for them. And Lawrence has to, the accuracy is, I think, a legitimate thing where I raising my eyebrow, but everything else is there. And he hit some crazy accurate throws in that game as well, right over the outstretched hands of some of these defenders. I'm excited for the Jaguars' future. They're a team that I'm really rooting for. And I like Lawrence a lot. I'm rooting for them to turn it around.
When I made my Jaguars prediction, I was very adamant that I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on this team a little bit. I don't think people we've talked about before how much Urban Meyer held back this team last year. And I think just adding Doug Peterson alone makes them a significant, I think that alone is a 5-win team. And then you think about what they've done in the offseason. I think, 7 wins. I think that's what I gave them was 7 wins.
I mean, how quick did the Browns turn it around after firing the second worst coach I've probably ever seen, Hugh Jackson? They were in the playoffs, 2 years later?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, they went 7-8-1, and then they went 10-6.
I think that we could see a similar. I think we could see a similar trajectory for the Panthers. Sorry, Matt. The Jaguars, the other big cat.
We could see the same thing with the Panthers.
Yeah, number 1 overall pick, fire this incompetent head coach. Maybe get about 7-8 wins the next year, and then after that, you're all good. And I think Lawrence is better than Mayfield. I don't think Trayvon Walker is as good as Myles Garrett, but he's been super impressive this preseason. I've really liked what I've seen from him and Josh Allen. So yeah, I think they're on that trajectory, like much like the Browns who are at. But I think it's a little bit more sustainable because I think Lawrence is him more than I think Baker was ever him.